Again in studio, this time also about safe shape. If any shape is safe, if you are programming, of course, you can spend for safety unlimited amounts of money, but of course, also the packaging, micro and Java, and simple forums without crisis of other programmers. Sometimes it's also very important to build simple studio if you are making studio and building different forums of simple Java. There is a lot of problems in many cities in world, and a lot of people sleep about the problem, but it's very important also to understand ABC company, which is actually some sort of simple forum. Not too much natural disasters in this world is the best, and to trust the simple safe code. It is very important to understand any type of crisis people have without code and to build more safe code. To build a better C++, if you are making software, of course, it's not simple, and also around 100 code a day for a protection of software is very, very important. And also, not simple, also for people in religion that are in crisis every day and they must see what is on the screen and also recognize themselves of screen. That's again a crisis. And of course, some other crisis that people have in their company. If you are a programmer, you must think about all those type of crises and how you're going to actually solve that with all those pragmas or extra C plus expression and different forms of what code can do with different safety button. Of course, every statement you make as a programmer is very important because it actually builds next arrays and also associative whatever you do in social area. Of course, with 0% people, there is 0% problem. But if you have more and more users, you can look on them on clients or as a simple users, and you can also change those users and actually build some other users that are paying you better. There are different forms of safety, whatever beauty you are going to build with the code. And every site have also some simple form of safety. Also understand the community and build something that community like and something that community is buying every day. If community is buying the safety every day, probably you should code more security and more optimization together with the safety. There are very, very different forms when you are going to build different parameters and also the safety together with the health if you are coding. A lot of people are coding here and forget about the health and the function of the health and safety, which have enormous value. There are different attributes you can actually build together with community. And it's very important that every community have difficulty and also the crisis. The crises are not simple, and also the biggest company in the world, sometimes they have disaster in their plan or they have problems, or every company in the world sometimes have crisis. Not crisis with finance, but maybe other type of crisis that are possible to solve with the code. To build much better theory, it's very important, but it's also important to keep up with your own methods and not the method of someone else. There are also different abstractions of the code, of course, to identify myself that would be the trend and also the condition in different trends and functions. It's not easy to build the better trends for what type of code the people are looking for. So if you are going to define me as a trend, also 20 other people can code easy with that trend, and there is just a function and nothing else. The name, of course, might be on disaster failure. And it's very important to build simple forum for me and to build simple forum for every coder. If the coder do not see the condition, of course, the coders can also pay for your code if they are unsafe. The safety is actually for me most important. And when you build safety in a program, that is very, very important. A lot of people have a lot of problems in their life, and they have problem with their value or what they think about health. Every human think about health a little bit different. Some people think the health is beer or chilling with friends, but me think that health is extremely complex, sometimes also related to science or the clinic DAO micro ants have actually named as an insurance, but of course that's more clinic with simple natural meaning. The natural is very complex because sometimes also disaster, and it's very important also sometimes to make exceptions if you are in the brand of health. The exceptions are always important. Also, when you are coding or thinking now you are going to make program or app or something simple, usually female users they like to lose some weight or grams, and that's very important for female. For men's maybe more security and more different forums whatever men think about them or their name. Sometimes it's also important to understand the function that people have and whatever people think about themselves. To secure that function with the code is usually extremely complex. Sometimes the functions are not simple and the whole community is in crisis, sometimes even for more months. And it's very important to understand the function of the program and also healing the programs and build simple C++ or just simple Java micro ants. The class usually is referred together with the health or how much do you do for healthy community, and that's not simple. Also, if you are thinking about more charity, okay, let's think about that together. Are you providing some extra information for the Africa or for all people in the world? Of course, no human is the same on that area, and every human, every user is completely different. The health area is actually very important, and sometimes disaster if people do not have enough information and enough safe information, which is actually very important. To build some simple clinic or the clinic with Taoism, that's actually extreme complex, and maybe 9% of the doctors might not understand you ever. So, for those that are in health, me recommend something simple in their life and not more than simple, because if you are going to mess together with very complex doctors, you are going to have extremely complex career which might even hurt you if you are a simple person or healer. Of course, healers are also doctors. To build better functions in Europe is 100% not simple. Better functions in America is 100% not simple, especially when America is in huge crisis. And to build the face of health is not simple, not for America, not for Europe, and not for other place and other city in the world. And it's not easy to understand all those ABC function. To build simple forums, it's not simple if you are working with C++ or simple D language. The simple D micro ants is extremely about safety and safety and safety and coding safety and safety and safety packaging and safety security, safety and a lot more safety about any class you are. So it's actually for any class and not only for higher forums. The safe forum is actually quite complex when it comes to different form of simple D foo or simple foo a. Not simple to build different alias also, but of course extreme complex also the trained void, which is extreme different from time to time, also different outputs and inputs, and it is extremely complex topic, sometimes also involve a lot of code and a lot of science. Sometimes in code, you also see the hello world, and when we think about hello world, that should not be noise. The hello world should just be somewhere in the code, and it looks like hell to me. And the word family that I have, all the users in Word, all the people in Word, my family, we are all poor together. And what can we provide to each other are some information or how to build a better community. Better community is not simple, and also every human have different type what they are thinking. It's not easy to argument every human. So if you build some sort of solution or platform or different type of buttons, for example, some even use the like on their site and also the like in their community and also the like dislike in different forms of subscription. You have the subscription here and subscription there and subscribe to this and subscribe to something else, and always you need to subscribe for something. But instead of that, you can actually build some sort of function together with program. It is not easy to switch from program to program if you are a coder, but in some time you'll get those values. Then you also have the backend and the front end, and those are not the same. Of course, simple D microends is actually quite difficult, and do not mess this together with different parameters or any of the cheap unhealthy code. It's very also important to build some sort of mentality that the rich, cheap, poor, it's all the same. Maybe do not make difference, because if you have a community, everyone should have the same value or the same opportunity. Of course, with finance, you can actually buy more and more things, but in the community itself, everyone could have the same value. And of course, if you are coding, you are worth a little bit more, because the code actually also builds some sort of platform. Without the code, you are actually just user of the net, and the net is actually some sort of the code, but it's also extremely complex. And different form of functions are not simple. And if you are having everything private, then you can be worth a lot. For example, in microints, if we keep all the fortune, all the code, all those information, all those expressions, different type of buttons, if we keep those programs private, then we will be very little forever. But if you share a little bit more, then of course more things are possible with that type of prosperity. Extremely difficult are any type of local community. On local community, you should actually look like on the world. But on the world, you can also look like on the fiction, like everyone else that is leading in this world. The fictions of laws in this world are also extremely complicated, and when it's war, you know that law is just a fiction and it don't support people a lot. It is very important to understand that peace, of course, is the main purpose of any organization, and whatever you are building, you should build that for peace. Of course, the finance is extremely complex and full of problems and crises. And of course, in finance, there are different forums of anything related to code and crisis. And poorly perform banking and crisis situations in different characteristics and unexpected situations and very uncertain. So of course, those people that are looking for more in their life, probably you should build some sort of code. Forget on anything related to finance and just build the code, build platform, build simple functions, pay out, pay in, and simple functions for our platform, whatever platform or whatever type you have.